try the Harley dealership on La Cienega. They'll be happy to see you there. I'd still like to see the Method 143.
The black taxi pulled up to the curb on Rodeo Drive at exactly 10:47 in the morning. The driver glanced into his rearview mirror, waiting for his passenger to hand over the fare. The man in the back seat counted out 4 crumpled $20 bills and 3 single ones, then added 47 cents in coins. The driver took the money without thanking him. Keanu Reeves stepped out onto the sidewalk in Beverly Hills, California, and pulled his black beanie down a little lower over his ears. He was wearing a faded black motorcycle jacket that had seen better days, dark jeans worn through at the left knee, and a pair of leather boots scuffed almost gray at the toes. A small canvas backpack hung from one shoulder. His beard was 3 days unshaven. He looked like a man who might have slept in a bus station the night before. He looked like nobody. The morning light was soft and golden, the kind of Southern California light that made everything look like a postcard. Across the street, a woman in a cream-colored Chanel suit was climbing into a Bentley while a uniformed valet held the door. 2 doors down, a window display of Hermes handbags glittered behind polished glass. The air smelled of jasmine and expensive coffee from a cafe where the cheapest item on the menu was a $14 matcha latte. Keanu walked slowly down the block toward a tall storefront with a dark glass facade. Above the entrance, in brushed steel letters that caught the light, were the words Iron Crown Motorworks. Beneath that, in smaller script, by appointment only. The window held only one object, displayed like a sculpture on a black marble platform. It was a custom motorcycle, all matte titanium and brushed aluminum, with hand-stitched leather and a single price tag that read $128,400. Keanu stopped in front of the window and looked at the bike for a long moment. He smiled, just a little. Then he pushed open the heavy glass door and stepped inside. A chime sounded somewhere overhead. The interior of the showroom was cool and dim, lit by recessed amber spotlights that picked out each motorcycle on its individual pedestal. There were 11 bikes on the floor, ranging in price from $87,000 to that flagship model in the window. The walls were dark walnut. The floor was polished concrete. A single bottle of Pellegrino sat sweating on a glass coffee table next to a stack of leather-bound catalogs. Behind a curved reception desk made of black resin and chrome, a man looked up from a tablet. He was somewhere in his late 30s, with hair gelled into a perfect side part and a charcoal Tom Ford suit, cut a half size too tight to show off the gym work. His name was Bradley Whitcomb. He was the senior sales director. He had been with Iron Crown Motorworks for 4 years, and he had personally closed $14,627,000 in sales over the previous fiscal year. He was very proud of that number. Bradley's eyes traveled from Keanu's worn boots up to the unshaven jaw and the faded beanie. His mouth set itself into a thin, flat line. He did not stand up. "Can I help you?" he said. It was not really a question. "Just looking," Keanu said quietly. He nodded a small greeting and moved toward the nearest motorcycle, a dark green machine on the second pedestal from the door. He stopped about 4 feet away and put his hands in his jacket pockets, the way a man might stand in front of a painting at a museum. Bradley set down his tablet. He stood up slowly, smoothing his jacket. He came around the desk with measured steps, the way a security guard approaches a suspicious person at a bank. From across the room, a younger woman in a cream blazer looked up from her own desk. Her name was Jessica Park. She was 26 and had only been working at Iron Crown for 6 weeks. Something in her face flickered when she saw the customer, but Bradley's body was already between her and the door. "Sir," Bradley said, his voice carefully polite in the way a knife is carefully sharp. "Are you here for an appointment?" No, he did not turn around. Iron Crown is by appointment only. The door was unlocked. There was a small pause. Bradley smiled with only his lower face. "The door is unlocked because we have appointments scheduled this morning. Walk-ins are not part of our model. Perhaps you didn't see the sign." "I saw the sign. Then I'm sure you understand." Keanu turned around slowly. He looked at Bradley the way a man looks at a problem he has solved many times before. "I'd like to see the method 143, he said. His voice was soft and even. There was no challenge in it. Bradley's eyes narrowed. The method 143 was the bike in the window, the flagship, the one with the matte titanium frame, and the price tag that cost more than most American houses. Every salesman at Iron Crown was trained to use that bike as a filter, a way of separating the dreamers from the buyers. You did not show the method 143 to a man in a torn motorcycle jacket. The method 143, Bradley said slowly, as if tasting the words, is reserved for serious buyers. There's a waiting list. The deposit alone is $62,000. I know, Keanu said. Bradley laughed. It was a small, tight laugh that he tried to make sound friendly, and did not quite, you understand. Sir, this is not a viewing gallery. This is a private dealership. Our average client transaction is in excess of $90,000. If you'd like to see the bike, I can offer you a beautiful set of photographs in one of our catalogs. He reached toward the coffee table, picked up one of the leather-bound books, and held it out at arm's length without stepping closer. Take this with you, with our compliments. Keanu did not take the catalog. He turned back to the green motorcycle and looked at it. After a moment, he reached out and touched the leather of the seat with one finger. The leather had been hand-stitched in Florence by a man named Tommaso Rinaldi. Keanu knew this because he had flown to Florence himself 2 years ago to meet Tommaso and to taste his wife's ribollita. Bradley's voice came from behind him, sharper now. Sir, please do not touch the merchandise. It's beautifully done, Keanu said. Sir. Keanu drew his hand back. He turned and looked at Bradley with an expression that was not quite anything. Not anger, not amusement, not surprise. It was the expression of a man who was simply paying attention. What's your name? Keanu asked. Bradley's chest came forward a quarter of an inch. Bradley Whitcomb, Senior Sales Director. Why do you ask? Just wanted to know your name. And yours, Sir John, Keanu said. John Burke. Bradley let the silence sit for 3 full seconds. Then he said, Burke, I'm going to ask you again to step toward the door. Iron Crown has a clientele to protect. We have a gentleman from Doha arriving in 20 minutes for the Method 143 viewing. And frankly, I don't want him walking through that door and seeing. Bradley's eyes moved up and down Keanu's clothes once, very deliberately. Seeing this, from across the room, Jessica Park made a small sound, almost a breath, and looked down at her desk. Keanu nodded slowly, as if confirming something to himself. Seeing what? He said. I think we both know. Tell me. Bradley laughed again. This time it was uglier. Sir, please, look in any reflective surface in this room. I am running a luxury establishment. You have walked in here looking like you slept under a bridge. I have been polite. I have offered you a free catalog. Now I'm telling you, with all the courtesy I can manage, that you are not in the right place. Try the Harley dealership on La Cienega. They will be happy to see you there. The room was very quiet. Somewhere outside, a car horn sounded once and stopped. Keanu looked at the floor for a moment. He took a slow breath. Then he looked up and said, in the same quiet voice as before, I'd still like to see the Method 143. Bradley's smile vanished completely. The reveal would come later. There would be a card, a phone call, a board confirmation. There would be witnesses. There would be a hospital visit Keanu had made that morning before the taxi, to a man named Frank Delaney, who had once owned a motorcycle shop, and who Bradley Whitcomb had publicly humiliated 11 months ago. There would be consequences that would unfold over the next 6 hours in a way Bradley Whitcomb could not yet imagine, because men like Bradley never imagine such things. They believe the world is exactly as they have always seen it, and they believe this until the moment it breaks. But that moment was not yet. Right now, in this dim showroom, at 10:53 in the morning, Bradley Whitcomb was still the king of Iron Crown Motorworks, and the man in the faded jacket was still nobody. For now, Bradley took 2 steps forward. He stood close enough that Keanu could smell his cologne, a sharp green scent that cost $300 a bottle, and that he wore too much of. Bradley's voice dropped to a low murmur. the kind a man uses when he wants to be cruel and not be overheard. "Mr. Burke," Bradley said, "I am going to be very honest with you, because honesty is a courtesy, and I am a courteous man. The bike you are asking to see has a 6-month waiting list. The deposit, as I said, is $62,000, payable as a wire transfer from a verified institutional account. The full price, before customization, is $128,400. Customization can take that number to $160,000. Insurance alone runs about $4,000 a year. Do you have a financial institution? Do you have at this moment, in your pocket or on a card, $62,000? "No," Keanu said. "Of course you don't. Not in my pocket." Bradley waved his counter. "Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo. Anywhere a real bank exists. Do you?" Keanu looked at him for a long moment. Something behind his eyes shifted, just slightly, the way the surface of a lake shifts when something very large moves in the deep water. But he only said, "I'd just like to look." "That," Bradley said, "is exactly what I cannot allow." He took Keanu by the elbow. It was not a hard grip, it was not violent, but it was a touch a stranger had no right to make, and it was a touch that contained inside it every assumption Bradley Whitcomb had made in the last 7 minutes about who Keanu Reeves was and what he deserved. Bradley turned Keanu toward the door and began to walk him, gently but firmly, the way a security guard walks a man out of a casino. "I'm going to ask you to leave," Bradley said. "Now." "Bradley." The voice was Jessica Parks. She had stood up from her desk. Her hands were pressed flat against the resin top, as if to hold herself steady. Her face was pale. "Don't, Jessica," Bradley said without looking back. "Bradley, I don't think." "Sit down, Jessica." Her mouth worked once and then closed. She sat down. She looked at Keanu with an expression that was almost an apology, and Keanu gave her the smallest nod in return. Bradley walked Keanu to the door, opened it with his free hand, and stepped aside to let him through. The morning light cut across the dim interior in a hard, bright bar. Keanu paused in the doorway. He did not turn around. He looked out at Rodeo Drive for a moment, at the slow traffic, at the woman with the Bentley now driving away, at the city of Beverly Hills going about its business. "Have a good day, Mr. Burke," Bradley said. "And please, don't come back." The door closed behind Keanu with a soft, expensive thump. Inside the showroom, Bradley turned around and exhaled a long breath. He smoothed his jacket again. He walked back to his desk with the satisfied movement of a man who had handled something unpleasant with professionalism. Across the room, Jessica Park was staring at her screen, but her eyes were not moving. "Jess," Bradley said, "you have to be firmer with people like that. They will eat you alive if you let them. This is Beverly Hills, not a soup kitchen." She did not answer. Bradley picked up his tablet. He opened a new note. He typed, in the casual, cheerful tone he used for his weekly reports to the regional VP, a small entry: "Handled a walk-in vagrant 10:50 a.m. Removed without incident. Will mention to security to be more attentive on the sidewalk surveillance." He hit save. Outside on the sidewalk, Keanu stood for almost a full minute. He took his phone, an older iPhone with a cracked screen protector, out of his inside jacket pocket. He scrolled through his contacts. He stopped at a name. He pressed it. The line rang twice. "Margaret," he said. His voice was completely different now. It was steady and warm and used to being listened to. "It's Keanu. I'm on Rodeo. I just walked out of Iron Crown. We have a problem, no." "No, I'm fine. Listen to me." "I need you to pull the personnel file for a Bradley Whitcomb, Senior Sales Director, Beverly Hills location. I need the customer complaint log for the last 24 months. I need the surveillance footage from this morning, from 10:40 to 11, all angles, and I need guard on the phone within the hour." "Yes, thank you." He paused. "One more thing. Pull anything we have on a customer named Frank Delaney. He came in last December. I want every record, every email, everything." He listened for a moment. Then he said, very quietly, "No, he's not going to like what happens next." He hung up. He put the phone back in his jacket. He looked once more through the dark glass at Bradley Whitcomb, who was now laughing at something on his tablet. Then Keanu Reeves turned and began to walk slowly up Rodeo Drive in the soft golden California light. and the long mourning of Bradley Whitcomb's life was just beginning. A black Lincoln sedan picked Keanu up at the corner of Rodeo and Brighton Way at 11:14 in the morning. The driver was a woman in her late 50s, with iron gray hair pulled back in a tight braid and a small American flag pin on her lapel. Her name was Margaret Olson, and she had been the executive director of Iron Crown's parent holding company for 11 years. She handed Keanu a paper cup of black coffee and a thin manila folder as he slid into the back seat. "Talk to me," Keanu said. "Bradley Whitcomb, age 38, hired April 2022, Margaret said. She was already driving, smooth and fast, heading east. Recruited from a high-end watch dealership in Manhattan. Strong sales numbers, top of the leaderboard, 3 of the last 4 quarters. Reviews from clients are mixed. Internal reviews from junior staff are." She paused. "Concerning? How concerning? 6 junior employees have left in the last 18 months. Exit interviews mention his name 12 separate times. HR flagged it twice and did nothing about it both times. Why? Because his numbers are good and the regional VP likes him." Keanu opened the folder. The first page was a printed photograph of Bradley Whitcomb, smiling, professional, standing next to a motorcycle at a launch event. The second page was a list of customer complaints. Keanu's eyes moved down the list and stopped on a name halfway down. Frank Delaney. Visit dated December 4 of the previous year. Complaint logged the next morning by Delaney's daughter on his behalf. The complaint description read, "Customer reports being mocked and asked to leave the premises. States the sales staff called him, quote, a tourist with a checking account, end quote, and laughed when he asked about financing options. Customer is a retired veteran and small business owner." Keanu closed his eyes for a moment. "How is Frank?" he asked. "He's at Cedars-Sinai. He had the second surgery on Tuesday. His daughter says he's stable. And the bike? He bought a used Triumph from a private seller in Glendale. Paid cash, drove it twice before the stroke." Keanu opened his eyes. He took a slow sip of the coffee. "Get me guard on speaker." Margaret tapped the dashboard. The line rang once. A man's voice, low and gravelly, came through. "Tell me you didn't actually go down there yourself." "Hello, guard." "Keanu, we have a whole team for that. 6 people whose job is to walk into our stores in normal clothes and find out exactly this kind of thing. You don't have to do this in person." "This one I had to." There was a pause. Guard Hollinger had been Keanu's partner and co-founder for 15 years. He had built motorcycles in a small shop in Hawthorne before any of this existed. He knew when to push and when to let it go. "What did he do?" Guard said. "He asked me to leave. He took me by the elbow. He told me to try the Harley dealership on La Cienega because it would be more my speed. He told a junior employee to sit down when she tried to stop him." Guard exhaled. "Okay, I want a board call at 3 this afternoon," Keanu said. "Get Hannah on the line. Get the legal team. I want Aaron from HR. I want our PR people standing by but not in the room. And guard, I want it clean. No leaks. No press until we decide how we handle this. You want him fired. I want this whole problem fixed. Bradley is the symptom. There's a culture in that store. We're going to handle it the right way. And Frank," Keanu was quiet for a moment. "I'm going to see Frank this afternoon," he said. "Margaret, after the board call, take me to Cedars-Sinai." "Yes, sir." The car merged onto Wilshire Boulevard and headed toward downtown Los Angeles. Outside the tinted windows, the city slid past in slow, prosperous frames, palm trees and billboards, and the distant glittering haze of Century City. Keanu watched it go by without really seeing it. He was thinking about a different morning 11 months ago when a 68-year-old man named Frank Delaney had walked into Iron Crown Motorworks in a clean button-up shirt and a pair of carefully polished work boots, and had been laughed at by a man wearing a $3,000 suit. He was thinking about how Frank Delaney had not told anyone what happened that day. Not for almost a week. Not until his daughter found him sitting on the back porch with the complaint form he had downloaded but never sent. Some kinds of cruelty do not bleed visibly. They sit inside a man and rot him slowly from the inside out. Keanu opened the folder again. He turned to the next page. There were more names. 11 more in the last 24 months. 2 of them had also filed complaints. The other 9 had simply never come back. The car drove on. At 11:47 in the morning, back inside Iron Crown Motorworks on Rodeo Drive, Bradley Whitcomb was walking a man in a navy blue suit through the showroom. The man was Khalid al-Mansouri, a real estate developer from Doha who had flown in on a private jet that morning, specifically to see the Method 143. He had a verified line of credit of $4,200,000 through a private banking arm of HSBC. Bradley had been preparing for this appointment for 3 weeks. And here, Bradley said, gesturing with a manicured hand, is the bike itself, the Method 143. Only 47 of these will ever be produced. You are looking at unit number 11. Mr. Al-Mansouri walked slowly around the motorcycle. He was a serious man with a serious face. He touched the leather seat. Bradley did not stop him. It is beautiful, Mr. Al-Mansouri said quietly. It is more than beautiful. It is a piece of American craftsmanship. The frame is hand-welded in Hawthorne by a team of 6 master fabricators. The leather is from Florence. The exhaust system is from a company in Stuttgart that builds exhausts for Formula One. Every bike is signed by both founders inside the inner frame. Both founders? Yes, sir. Gard Hollinger, master fabricator, and his partner, the silent founder. His name, Bradley, smiled politely. We don't share that, sir. Privacy of the principal. But I can assure you, both signatures are there. We have a verification card that travels with the bike. Mr. Al-Mansouri nodded. He continued to walk around the bike. After a moment, he said, "You have a customer, just leave." Bradley blinked. "Sir?" "A man in a black jacket. I saw him as my car pulled up. He came out of the door." "Oh," Bradley said. He laughed lightly. "No, sir. That was not a customer. That was regrettably a walk-in. A homeless gentleman who wandered in off the street. We have a very strict appointment policy, as you know, and I handled it discreetly." Mr. Al-Mansouri stopped walking. He looked at Bradley for a long second. What did this man look like? "Sir, describe him." Bradley's smile faltered just slightly. He was a white gentleman, dark hair, dark beard, mid-50s or so, wearing a beanie and a torn jacket. "Why do you ask, sir?" Mr. Al-Mansouri was quiet for a moment longer. Then he said, with the faintest smile of his own, "No reason. The bike is very beautiful. May I have a few minutes alone with it?" "Of course, sir. I will be just at the desk if you need me." Bradley walked back to his desk. He poured himself a glass of water from a crystal decanter. He took a small, satisfied breath. Across the floor, Jessica Park was watching Mr. Al-Mansouri, who was now standing very still beside the Method 143 with his phone in his hand. He was typing something. He sent it. He put the phone away. Jessica looked back down at her screen. Mr. Al-Mansouri turned around and walked to Bradley's desk. He smiled politely. "I have made my decision," he said. Bradley stood up. "Yes, sir. Shall we discuss customization? We have a beautiful selection of... I will not be purchasing the motorcycle today." Bradley's face did not change for a moment. Then it changed all at once. "Sir, I have just received some information. I will need to do some additional due diligence before I commit to a transaction of this size." "Sir, may I ask, is there something?" Mr. Al-Mansouri put one hand on Bradley's shoulder lightly, the way a kind older man might touch the shoulder of a child. "There is no concern with the bike. The bike is exquisite. There is, perhaps, a concern with something else, but that is not for me to say at this time. Thank you for your time, Mr. Whitcomb. You have been most informative." He turned and walked out. The door closed behind him. Bradley stood at his desk for a long moment. He felt his face getting hot. The morning had been going so well. He picked up his tablet. He typed a new note. "Al-Mansouri, did not close, will follow up Monday. Possible cultural hesitancy around large discretionary purchase. Will adjust approach." He did not yet know that Mr. Al-Mansouri had received a single text message at 11:51 from a private number he had been given 2 years ago by a mutual friend, and that the message had read only, "The man in the black jacket who left the store was Keanu Reeves. He owns the company. Do as you wish." He did not yet know any of that. He poured himself another glass of water. The board call began at 3 p.m. in a conference room on the 42nd floor of a building in Century City. Keanu was at the head of the table. Margaret Olson sat to his right, with a stack of folders and a laptop open in front of her. Guard Hollinger had come in from Hawthorne and sat to Keanu's left, still in his shop clothes, his hands still faintly smelling of metal shavings. Across the table sat Hannah Cho, the chief legal officer, a thin woman in her 40s with a face that gave nothing away. Next to her sat Aaron Pell, the head of human resources, a man with a kind face and old, watchful eyes. A speakerphone in the center of the table connected to the company's outside counsel and to the head of internal investigations. "Let's begin," Keanu said. Margaret slid a folder across the table. Bradley Whitcomb, 23 documented incidents over the last 24 months. 6 involve dismissive treatment of walk-in customers. 4 involve hostile interactions with junior staff. 2 involve formal complaints filed by customers themselves. 11 involve negative exit interview commentary from former employees, all of whom resigned within 12 months of being hired. And HR's prior response, Keanu said. Aaron Pell cleared his throat. He looked very uncomfortable. 2 written warnings, both quietly removed after 3 months at the request of the regional VP. The regional VP cited Whitcomb's sales numbers as a reason to overlook the patterns. "Who is the regional VP?" Donna Krieger. Keanu nodded slowly. "We'll come to Donna in a minute. Hannah." Hannah Cho opened her folder. "From a legal standpoint, we have multiple causes for immediate termination under his existing contract. Repeated violations of the company conduct policy. Documented discriminatory treatment of customers based on appearance, which is exposure for us under California civil rights statutes. And as of this morning, an incident that, if filmed and released, would do significant brand damage to a luxury brand whose entire identity is built on a founder who rides the New York subway and gives up his seat for strangers." "It was filmed," Keanu said. There was a small silence at the table. "Our own surveillance," Margaret said. 3 angles. Audio is clean. Bradley's full conduct is on the record. Keanu folded his hands on the table. "Here is what we are going to do," he said. "And I want every one of you to listen carefully, because this is not a punishment. This is a correction. Bradley Whitcomb will be terminated for cause this afternoon, effective immediately. Aaron will deliver the termination in person at the Beverly Hills store. Hannah, your team will be present. The termination will be handled with dignity. He will be walked out. His access will be revoked. His severance will be the legal minimum, which under his contract for cause is 0. We will not be paying him a bonus. We will not be paying out his unvested options. We will offer him 60 days of health insurance continuation, because we are not cruel people, and because no one's children should lose their dentist over their father's choices." He paused. "Donna Krieger will be informed this evening that her position is being restructured. She will be offered the option to step down with 3 months of severance, or to be terminated for failure to enforce policy. That is her choice. Aaron, I want that handled tomorrow." "Yes, sir, Jessica." Park, the junior associate who tried to intervene this morning, will be offered a full promotion to a sales associate role with a raise and a personal mentor. She will be the first person to know about Bradley's departure. "Margaret, you'll handle that personally." "Yes." As of Monday morning, every Iron Crown location in the country will undergo a mandatory 2-week pause in walk-in sales. During that pause, every customer-facing employee will receive new training in our actual brand values, which are not what is currently being practiced in Beverly Hills. We will be writing those values down in a way that cannot be ignored. Aaron, you and I will draft that together this weekend. Yes. Finally, Keanu said. He looked down at the folder in front of him. He opened it to a particular page. Frank Delaney. The room was quiet. Frank Delaney was treated in a way that I personally consider unforgivable. He has been in the hospital for 9 days. He is 68 years old. He served 2 tours in the Marines. He worked for 41 years as a small engine mechanic in Long Beach. He raised 3 children. His wife died of cancer 4 years ago. He came into our store last December because he had saved for almost 2 decades to buy a motorcycle that he had only ever seen in magazines. And Bradley Whitcomb laughed at him. Keanu closed the folder. I am going to see Frank this afternoon. I am going to deliver to him personally a Method 143, custom built to his specifications free of charge. The bike will be signed inside the frame by Guard and by me. The cost of that build will be charged against my personal account, not the company. I want that clear in the books. Guard Hollinger leaned forward. Keanu. Yes, that bike is $128,400. I know what it costs. He's not riding again. Keanu. I know that too. Guard looked at him for a long moment. Then he sat back and said, very quietly, build number 12 is already on the floor. We can have it customized by Thursday. Thank you. Keanu stood up. One more thing, he said. He looked around the table. None of this gets leaked to the press by us. We do not publicize what happened today. Bradley Whitcomb is going to fall out of this company today, and the question of what story he tells about why is his own affair. We will not assist him in spinning it, and we will not punish him by spreading it. If the press finds it, they find it, but we are not going to feed it. Are we clear? Nods around the table. Then go, Keanu said. Aaron, you're at the Beverly Hills store at 5. I want it done before close. Aaron Pell stood up and gathered his folder. As he reached the door, Keanu called after him. Aaron, yes, when you talk to Bradley, tell him I was the man in the jacket. He should know who he met today, not because I want him humiliated, because I want him to think, for the rest of his life, about what he did and to whom. Yes, sir. The door closed. At 5:04 p.m., the heavy glass door of Iron Crown Motor Works chimed open. Bradley Whitcomb looked up from his tablet, expecting his last appointment of the day. Instead, 3 people walked in. A tall man with kind eyes and an HR badge clipped to his blazer. A small, thin woman with a leather briefcase and a face like a closed door. A uniformed building security officer. Bradley stood up slowly. Mr. Whitcomb, the tall man said, my name is Aaron Pell. I'm with Corporate Human Resources. May we speak privately for a moment? The conversation took 11 minutes. Bradley did not cry. He did not shout. At first, he laughed. He laughed when Aaron told him he was being terminated for cause. He laughed when Hannah Cho slid a folder across the table containing the surveillance, stills, and the customer complaint log. He laughed when Aaron told him his access cards were being revoked and his personal belongings would be boxed and couriered to him within 48 hours. This is a joke, Bradley said. He was smiling. His smile looked like something he had forgotten how to take off his face. This is some kind of test. The walk-in. The vagrant. He filed a complaint. Is that what this is? Because I followed protocol. I followed every single one of our brand protection protocols. You can ask Donna. Donna will back me on this. Donna will not be backing you on this, Mr. Whitcomb. This is absurd, the man was. Look at the footage. Look at how he was dressed. I did exactly what any of us would have done. That is the problem we are addressing, Mr. Whitcomb. We do not want you to have done what any of you would have done. We want our people to do better than that. Who was he? Aaron Pell paused. His name, Aaron said, is Keanu Reeves. Bradley stopped smiling. For a moment, nothing happened in his face. Then his mouth opened slightly. Then it closed. Then his eyes went very still, the way the eyes of a man go still when he is calculating the number of his own teeth that he has just lost. No, Bradley said. No, that's not. No, he is the co-founder and majority owner of this company, Mr. Whitcomb. He has been since 2011. He is the silent founder whose name does not appear in our marketing materials. He visits all of our stores once or twice a year, unannounced in regular clothes, because that is the only way he has found to see what is actually happening in his own business. You met him this morning. You took him by the elbow. You told him to try the Harley dealership on La Cienega. Bradley sat down very slowly in his chair. Mr. Whitcomb, Aaron said gently, you have 10 minutes to gather any personal effects from your desk. Officer Hanrahan will accompany you. You will then be escorted to the rear exit, where a car has been called to take you home. Your access to the building, to your company email, and to your company devices is being revoked as we speak. Bradley stared at the surface of the desk. His hands were flat against it. Did he? Bradley said. He stopped. He started again. Was the Doha buyer? Yes. Bradley closed his eyes. My unvested options. I have 3 years vested. Your contract specifies that termination for cause forfeits unvested options. Hannah can walk you through that on Monday if you wish. My commissions for Q3. Vested commissions will be paid out in the next payroll cycle. Unvested ones will not. My references. We will confirm dates of employment if any future employer calls. We will not characterize your departure. There was a long silence. Then Bradley Whitcomb did a small thing that he would later not remember doing. He picked up the leather-bound catalog on his desk, the one he had offered to Keanu Reeves 4 hours earlier, and he set it back down very carefully, as if it might break. I want to apologize, he said. Mr. Whitcomb, I want to apologize to him. I want to write him a letter. I want to. That would not be appropriate at this time. I want. Mr. Whitcomb, please listen to me. Mr. Reeves was very specific. He did not want this to be punitive in a way that humiliated you. He wanted it to be clean. You will be allowed to leave this building with dignity. What you do after that is your own affair. But you will not be writing a letter, and you will not be contacting him. Bradley looked up. I didn't do anything wrong, he said. Aaron Pell looked at him for a long moment. Mr. Whitcomb, Aaron said very softly, take the 10 minutes. Gather your things. Let's go. 11 months would pass before Bradley Whitcomb said the words, I'm sorry out loud to anyone, and even then he would say them to his wife, in a kitchen, in the small house they had to move into when the Beverly Hills lease ran out. And he would say them only about the lease, and not about any of the rest of it. He never did admit fault. Not really. Not in the place inside him where it would have mattered. That was Bradley's choice. It would, in the end, cost him almost everything. Cedars-Sinai Medical Center sat at the corner of Beverly Boulevard and George Burns Road, a tall complex of pale stone and tinted glass. At 5:47 p.m., Keanu Reeves walked through the main lobby in the same faded black jacket, the same worn boots, the same beanie, and rode the elevator to the 7th floor without anyone recognizing him. He had called ahead. The charge nurse was expecting him. She led him quietly down a long hall and into a private room at the end. Frank Delaney was sitting up in bed. He was a thin man with white hair and a face full of deep, kind lines. There was an IV in his left arm and a heart monitor beeping softly beside him. His daughter, Annette, a woman in her 40s with her father's eyes, was sitting in the chair beside the bed. She stood up when Keanu came in. Mr. Delaney, Keanu said. Frank looked at him for a moment. Then his face changed. Oh, he said. Oh my goodness. I'm Keanu. May I sit down? Please. Please, Annette, this is... I know who he is, Daddy. Annette pulled up a second chair from against the wall. Keanu took off his beanie and sat down beside the bed. He set the beanie on his knee. I wanted to come and see you in person, he said. I wanted to apologize to you in person about what happened in my store last December. Frank Delaney was very quiet for a moment. Then he said, your store. Iron Crown is mine. I'm one of the founders. I should have known what was happening in that store. And I didn't. And that is on me. The man who treated you the way he treated you is no longer with the company. He was terminated this afternoon. But that doesn't fix it. I know that doesn't fix it. I came here to say I'm sorry, Frank. Frank Delaney looked down at his hands on top of the white hospital blanket. You didn't have to come down here yourself, he said. Yes, I did. Annette put her hand on her father's shoulder. I have something to offer you, Keanu said, and I want you to feel completely free to say no. I would like to build you a Method 143 to your specifications, any color you want, any leather you want, anything. The bike will be signed inside the frame by Guard Hollinger and by me. I'd like to deliver it to you personally when you're ready. Frank stared at him. Son, Frank said, I can't ride anymore, I know. That bike costs. I know what it costs, Frank. Then why? Keanu was quiet for a long moment. Outside the window, the late afternoon light was turning the buildings of Los Angeles a soft gold. Because you came into my store last December, he said, and you had every right to be there. You had saved for 20 years. You served your country. You raised your kids. You wanted to see something beautiful that you had earned the right to see. And one of my people told you that you were a tourist with a checking account, and he laughed at you. And you went home and you didn't tell anybody for a week. And I have spent every day, since I heard about that, thinking about what that must have felt like for you to walk out of that store. And I cannot fix that. I cannot fix the stroke. I cannot fix the year you had after. But I can build you the bike, and you can keep it in your garage, or you can put it in your living room, or you can sell it the next day and give the money to your grandchildren. I don't care. I just want you to have it, because it was yours from the moment you walked in last December, and we should have given it to you then. Frank Delaney's eyes were full of water. Annette was crying without sound. Mr. Reeves, Frank said. Keanu, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Take a few days. Talk to your daughter. Let me know what you want. My grandson, Frank said. My grandson rides. He's 26. He just started a custom shop in Long Beach. He's just starting out. Keanu smiled, just a little, for the first time that day. Then maybe, he said, the bike has a rider after all. Annette put her face in her hands. Keanu sat with them for almost an hour. They talked about Frank's tours, about his shop in Long Beach, about the wife he had lost, about his grandson Tyler who had bought a beat-up old Honda and rebuilt it in his apartment kitchen. They talked about nothing in particular. Keanu drank a paper cup of bad coffee that Annette brought him from the hallway machine. When he stood up to leave, Frank reached out and took his hand. You came here yourself, Frank said. Yes, sir. You didn't have to do that. Yes, sir, I did. The two men looked at each other for a long moment. Then Keanu put on his beanie, nodded once to Annette, and walked out of the room. In the parking lot, Margaret Olson was waiting in the Lincoln. Keanu got in the back. He did not say anything for almost 2 minutes. Margaret did not start the car. Take me home, he finally said. I need to sit on my couch for a while. Yes, sir. She started the car. Over the next 3 weeks, the consequences spreads out from that morning on Rodeo Drive in concentric rings. The way a stone dropped into still water sends out rings that touch every shore. Bradley Whitcomb was unable to find another job in luxury retail in Los Angeles. The industry was small. People talked. Within 4 days of his termination, every senior sales director at every major luxury motorcycle, watch, and automobile dealership in Southern California had heard some version of the story. None of them would take his calls. He tried New York. He tried Miami. He tried Dallas. The same story had already arrived. He was offered, eventually, a position selling timeshares in a development outside Palm Springs. He took it. He lasted 6 weeks. He was let go for cultural's fit. The lease on the 4-bedroom house in Brentwood ran out in February. Bradley and his wife and their 2 children moved to a smaller place in Reseda. His wife, who was a real estate agent, started picking up evening shifts at a wine bar. Bradley applied for management positions at retail stores, at car dealerships, at country clubs. He did not get them. He could not understand why. To anyone who would listen, including his wife and his brother and the family lawyer who finally told him to stop calling, Bradley Whitcomb maintained that he had done nothing wrong. The man in the jacket had been dressed like a vagrant. He had followed brand protocols. He had been a top performer. The whole thing was an overreaction. The whole thing was unfair. The whole thing was a setup. The world, he told them, was crazy. The world had lost its mind. His wife filed for legal separation in May. Donna Krieger, the regional vice president, accepted the severance offer and quietly retired in Scottsdale. She told her friends she had decided to spend more time with her grandchildren. Privately, she sent Keanu a handwritten letter taking full responsibility for not enforcing policy. The letter was acknowledged but not answered. Jessica Park was promoted 3 days after the incident. 6 months later, she was promoted again. A year after that, she was running the Beverly Hills store. She kept a small framed quotation on her desk that nobody ever asked her about. It read, "Sit down, Jessica." She kept it there to remind her every single day of what she had decided that morning to never do again. The customer complaint log for Iron Crown Motor Works dropped to 0 documented incidents over the next 8 months. The company implemented an anonymous reporting system for junior staff. Sales did not suffer. In fact, the Beverly Hills location under Jessica Park posted its strongest 4th quarter in company history. Frank Delaney went home from the hospital in early December, 3 weeks after Keanu's visit. He spent Christmas with his daughter and his grandson, Tyler. On the first Saturday of January, a black truck pulled up to Frank's small house in Long Beach. Two men in clean coveralls unloaded a motorcycle, matte black with deep red leather, hand-stitched by Tommaso Rinaldi in Florence, signed inside the frame by Guard Hollinger and by Keanu Reeves. The bike was for Frank, registered in his name. Tyler stood in the driveway with his hand over his mouth. Frank Delaney died 4 months later, in his sleep, in his own bed. He was 69 years old. At the funeral, Tyler Delaney rode the Method 143 at the head of the procession. He still rides it. He has never sold it. He never will. 3 months after the incident, Keanu Reeves walked back into Iron Crown Motorworks on Rodeo Drive. He was wearing the same jacket, the same beanie, the same boots. Jessica Park was at the front desk. She looked up and smiled. "Welcome back, Mr. Reeves." "Hello, Jessica. Can I get you anything?" "I'm just looking today." "Take your time, sir." Keanu walked slowly through the showroom. He stopped in front of the Method 143 in the window, the one that had started everything. He stood there with his hands in his pockets for a long moment, watching the light catch the brushed titanium. Outside on the sidewalk, two women walked past, laughing at something on a phone. A father was teaching his small son to skateboard on the wide, empty curb. A bus hissed at the corner. Keanu took a slow breath. He thought about Frank Delaney. He thought about Bradley Whitcomb, somewhere out in the world, still not understanding what had happened to him. He thought about Jessica Park behind the desk, who had stood up that morning and said one word, and then sat back down, and how that one word had ended up mattering more than anything. He thought about the kind of cruelty that wears expensive clothes and tells itself it is professional. He thought about how easy it had been, for so many years, for a man to walk into a beautiful store and be told he was nothing because of the way he looked, and how much harder it was, and how much more it cost to make sure that did not happen anymore. In the end, he thought, the world is not made better by the people who have everything. It is made better by the people who, when they have everything, remember what it feels like to have nothing. And by the people who, when they see something wrong, stand up from their desk and say one word, even when they have been told to sit back down. He turned away from the window. Jessica was watching him with a small, warm expression. "Have a good day, Jessica." "You too, Mr. Reeves." He walked out of the store. The chime sounded softly behind him. The California afternoon was wide and bright and full of strangers, and Keanu Reeves walked down Rodeo Drive in his old black jacket, and nobody recognized him, and that was exactly the way he liked it. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us what really matters in this world. Hit the bell so you never miss an upload. And before you go, leave a comment below telling us where in the world you are watching from, and one moment in your own life when someone judged you for the way you looked and how you handled it. We read every comment. We are listening. Thank you for being here with us today. We will see you in the next story.